Hello, and welcome to Beyond Chinatown, a British East and Southeast Asian guide to Manchester's past, present, and future. Today, I will be your guide on this audio tour of the city as we make our way from performance to performance. Nah, I'm kidding, that ain't my vibe. I cannot keep that voice up. Anyway, I'm Chris, and presumably you've met Megan. For your sake, I hope so. If you can't see them, you're potentially going to end up seeing much less theatre than you expected, but hey, free headphones. This is, an opportunity between plays to sort of relax, but if you don't pay attention to me, it will make me very sad. Also, please don't get lost. Just to describe myself, I'm 6 foot, dark brown hair, but my bonce is shaved like a monk, East Side style, not brewery chic. I got a big old broken Jewish nose because, as well as being Japanese, I'm also Jewish and disabled. I know, so busy. And also I broke my nose in a mosh pit in Leeds, actually, which is very embarrassing. If I had to describe my face, which I don't, but I will, I'd go with perfect. I've got these really long eyelashes, very haute couture, but modelling just isn't for me. Also, I've got a really long, but not that girthy stick. Basically a third leg. I only really use it for walking and sometimes gardening. As a reformed Londoner who's lived in Manchester only slightly longer than the novel coronavirus, it feels a bit strange to be guiding people around a city centre I'm only vaguely familiar with. But I'm mainly going to be focusing on what it's like navigating a city while disabled, so actually I guess that's chill. So according to the social model of disability, I am a person who is disabled by society, by which I mean society does not accommodate people with physiological differences like mine. So people who need glasses physiologically have an impairment, but they aren't limited in their ability to interact with society as a result of it because glasses. Whereas I walk with a cane due to what medical practitioners like to call an undiagnosed condition, but which I like to think of more of as a curse because I crossed a shaman one time. Anyway, navigating a city while disabled is essentially work because you have to be actively paying attention to everything around you in a very conscious way. You've got to be aware of what the pavement's like right in front of you and coming up so you can figure out what route's best for you, especially on paving that looks flat because even small bumps and stuff can make a huge difference. Here in city centre, the paving's obviously quite even, whereas in places like Longsight, where the demographic is predominantly working class and South Asian, the paving is really uneven. It's a real mystery why that sort of place has worse local infrastructure than the rich, predominantly white city centre, despite them both being in the same council, but I guess it's just something we'll never know. Oh, around here we've got this great row of shops actually. There's a second-hand bookshop I've spent ages looking for weird books in, but also this place called the Jerk Shack, which I haven't actually managed to eat at yet. But whenever I pass by, I always stand outside and just sniff for a bit, oh, it's so good. Is that relatable? Oh, also the butcher and the fishmonger in this part of the Yarndale are mint. Have to check them out. On the Yarndale, though, they've got this really daft system for the disabled toilets where you need to have signed up for a key to access them, or you need to find a member of staff and say, "Hello, I, an adult human, would like to go to the toilet. Is that okay with you?" It's quite common practice in theatres and restaurants as well, and obviously is intended to make it so disabled people have access to disabled toilets when they need them, but it's also humiliating and reinforces these notions that disabled people need ableds around for us to be able to do anything. Another quick thing on the disabled toilets, there's an art gallery in Manchester, a Manchester art gallery, if you will, whose disabled toilets don't have coat hooks, which I can only imagine is due to the common misconception that disabled people are immune to weather. Which I assume that's a thing because it's surprisingly common. What, Megan? What you do? Stop it! Stop it, Meg. I do not like that, Meg. Stop it! I do not like that one bit, Megan. Come on, this is my time to shine, please, Meg. Okay, good. Anyway, as far as navigating while disabled goes, what's really the issue is a thing called other people. You may be familiar with this problem. Folk often don't cede space to disabled people because we are one of the groups, which also includes homeless and outwardly queer people, that society tells us not to look at because of our obvious difference. It's the classic telling a child don't stare because it's rude, even though there's nothing inherently rude about staring. It's a way of taking in and processing information, especially when you're young. Like, nobody says that in an art gallery or about books or about anything they want to encourage engagement with. And so people don't notice us because they're taught not to look at us. Now, there are 3 ways I try and make up for this. The first is by moving slowly through crowded areas because people do subconsciously note the speed everyone around them is moving at, so someone moving at an anomalous speed does stand out. The second is body language. I hold myself in a way that takes up space politically, which I've recently realised, thanks to a Yellow Earth course actually, is very similar to how an actor will take up space on stage by acting open. The third is something I've adopted from the queer community, which is dressing loudly. I normally wear quite gaudy clothes, like I've got this jacket with giant gold tigers all over it, which is amazing. And my friend embroidered this baby blue hat for me, and they clash so beautifully, especially with this bright orange shirt I got. Anyway, that was all quite intense, so here's a bit of relaxing music to just chill out to for a sec. Cool, that's enough. Oh God, I hate cobbles. There are so many cobbles in this city. Not as many as Edinburgh, to be fair, although I do love that city. Although I do hate that city as well. Shout out to my Leith friends, by the way. Get out the pub, you're a stereotype. I do love the wide streets here in Manchester, though. It just makes things easier. Anyway, around here you can see the Royal Exchange Theatre, which is currently shut because I don't know if you've heard, but there's a bug going around that's really horrific. Like most theatres in the UK, they aren't getting the support they need despite the arts being one of the largest contributors to the British economy and literally the only thing anybody internationally cares about the UK for. So that's one of the reasons for these signal fires events happening across the country, for touring companies like Yellow Earth, who have been left with nowhere to go to mark their presence publicly and force acknowledgement, especially for marginalised groups like BCs. I guess this government just likes closing down havens, as they've done for homeless shelters and traveller camping sites. Apparently, the stage isn't supported from below, but from suspension, which is amazing, and the season they had planned looked gorge, but yeah. It was the place I was most recommended to check out when I moved here earlier this year, and now I don't know if I'll ever be able to, which I'm really gutted about. Luckily, I think this sadness really humanises me in the eyes of my audience. What do you think? Something I have noticed about this city is that 99% of shops, restaurants, bars, have steps at the entrance, even when it's completely unnecessary. Like, I've been on maybe 2 nights out in the city centre since moving here, and each time I've been quite restricted as to where I can go because of accessibility, and that's as someone who is lucky enough to be able to manage stairs. Slight side note, I've been told by quite a few people now that the gay village is really unhospitable to people of colour, but I never found out because when I went, I found it so inaccessible I didn't see any point going in anywhere. Oh God, not again, Megan. You always do this. Not everything is about you, it's about me. Oh, that's just immature. Are you happy? Are you happy with yourself right now? Come on, we've got guests. Anyway, not only are there a dearth of places which have steps on entry, there are so few places with ramps, I could probably count them all on one hand. Ramps that are easily accessible and follow the guidance out by law, even fewer. Even though ramps are legally meant to have as shallow a gradient as possible, so often that's ignored in favour of aesthetics, despite them being a practical measure. This is because most architects are bad people, as evidenced by hostile architecture being a thing. It's okay, I can say that. One of my best friends is actually a person of architectural vocation. Also, despite being the most easy to access part of the city, there aren't any shops in the city centre for disabled people, catering to the equipment we need. For example, to get my ferry wheel replaced, which is the rubber bit at the bottom of a cane, I still have to get them from London because multiple shops I've asked here not only didn't have them, but refused to order ones in because it was a hassle for them to contact the supplier. So that's cool. You know, before I moved up, all of my Mancunian friends warned me about how much it rains here, and honestly, I thought they were just being dramatic because British people love to one-up each other about how awful where they live is. But I hope you're enjoying these series of outdoor performances. So aren't you glad you're indoors for this? Also, what happened to autumn? It's so cold. Anyway, we're coming up to the next performance, so I'm going to go now, but we should catch up in a bit, yeah? Okay, great. Bye. See you soon. Enjoy the show. Have fun. Love you. Oh my God, did I just say that? Hey, I missed you. Hope you missed me too. Welcome to part 2 of Chris's audio cripple guide through Manchester, which is absolutely not what we're calling this, by the way. Okay, cool. So let's follow Megan towards the Manchester Central Library. I don't know if it's actually called that. It's a Central Manchester Library. It's a library in Central Manchester. That's all I know about it. I think the word brave is appropriate, I would say, in defying many of the traditional stereotypes typically associated with these stations, by which I mean I'm a massive dunce, so I have no use for libraries, even though I've been told this one is very nice. A couple of lovely red telephone boxes there, actually, which I do use more often than libraries, because in London, we call those public toilets. Is that a cultural thing? Do you do that here? Maybe it's some common ground we can use to bridge the north-south divide with. Who knows? Oh, some cute little Doric columns up at the top there. I find it interesting how neoclassical architecture was basically a form of hostile architecture aimed at being oppressive towards working class people, and now, along with other styles like the Baroque of the Midland Hotel opposite, is one that denotes white space, which is unwelcoming to people of colour. It's almost like there's a common oppressor or something. Maybe that's just me getting all conspiracy theorist. Apparently Hitler was a huge fan of the Midland Hotel, which makes me feel really vindicated in finding it musty and creepy. That's right, I am officially coming out as being anti-Hitler. See how brave and yet duncy I am? Like, this is gonna do nothing for my career. Ugh. What an artistically poor choice, you daft Jew. Oh, there's this lovely statue of naked people wrestling. Fair play to them. Europeans do love naked people wrestling, and while I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum, do try to be less horny on Main, please. Think about the kids. Lots of benches in Manchester, which is really fun. Great for accessibility, not just for those of us with visible disabilities, but for those with invisible disabilities as well. Fun fact, ableism is inherently tied to misogyny because women are more likely to suffer from a disability due to conditions such as endometriosis, which affects roughly 1 in 10 women. In hindsight, maybe not fun in the traditional sense, but still a fact. Friends Meeting House there, great place to catch up on sitcoms from the 90s. I am very sorry about that joke, mostly about the fact that it wasn't edited out by this point. Megan, put your headphones back. Megan, can you hear me, Megan? I hate it when people who aren't me act unprofessional. Megan, oh, why are you like this? Just fine, whatever, be quick. Got that out your system? Great. Anyway, I hope that's bought production enough time to set up. Enjoy the next couple of performances, and I guess I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Cool. Ciao. Oh my days, did I just kiss? What the? Hiya! Welcome to our third and final section together. I really think we've come like a lot closer through all of this. Like there's this, I don't know, connection between us, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, maybe we could get a drink sometime or... Oh no, yeah, no, that's fine. That's I was just kidding. Cool, yeah, no, it's fine. Megan, you're not from here, so as someone who is also not from here, but less not from here than you, I should probably tell you about Peterloo. So if you look down, you'll see some stars, some of which are red and commemorate the names of the 11 people who died that day in 1819 at a peaceful pro-democracy protest when the cops got violent because they were operating without any oversight. Like in Hong Kong, the US, Nigeria, or there was some country where there was a recent bill that gave state sanction to undercover agents to commit any crimes they want with full legal protection. But I'm sure that could never happen again, especially here in the UK. Anyway, let's get moving again. I am excited for Manchester opening back up. As we're recording this, we're probably just heading to level 3. Hopefully not literally, otherwise this recording session is super illegal. But, I haven't had a lot of experience with unquarantined Manchester. So I do hope... there's lots of things lockdown has brought with it for accessibility, and a lot of those things have already started to disappear since the first lockdown got lifted. Like Zoom things and being able to work remotely, and, that's been great. I don't think I'd have been able to do certain things that I have done this year if not for that. Like, you probably wouldn't be hearing my voice right now. And now, and also now. But equally as important as making things accessible online is making things physically accessible, because as you may have clocked from having been locked down for months on end, that it isn't fun, but it is also quite similar to normal life for a lot of disabled people. So, adopting the social model of disability can make a huge difference for us, because it aims to make the world open to us rather than just doing things without our input. It looks at the physical restrictions placed on us beyond just built structures to social ones as well. Like, I lost my last full-time role because I couldn't commute into the office every day, even though I was fully set up to work from home. Shortly after, based on the level of pain I'm constantly in and how it limits me physically, I was initially diagnosed with having 3 hernias. So, for a time my silver lining was that I may have been poor in health, but at least I was rich in what mattered. Hernias. Obviously, I now know that it isn't that, it's, the old curse. So it isn't one or the other, it's both. It would be easier for me to commute if I wasn't literally fighting the architectural environment every step of the way, and I'd be able to get into the office more. If I was allowed more days working from home when my health gets worse, which it does in an unpredictable and kooky way like a manic pixie dream girl in a sexist late noughties film, I'd also be able to get into the office more, and I wouldn't have to spend the entire weekend in bed hoping to recover enough just to get to work come Monday. I just think it would be nice. I know, another controversial opinion from me. Let disabled people out. I am so brave in saying that. And yet, very few non-disabled people will come out and say it, let alone do anything about it. So, maybe it is brave. Well, I'm much less fit than I thought I was. I've got to say, as much as I've been enjoying this, I'm glad this is almost over, because I am getting surprisingly tired. I hope you're not, because obviously I wish for nothing but the best for you, ain't I a sweetheart? But I expect some of you are finding this as well. And that's just something we can ruminate about in silence, on our own, at night, with nobody else around. And as we come to the final stage of Beyond Chinatown, I want us all to thank Megan for bearing both the torch and having to hear this 3 times today. So I'm going to leave 10 seconds of empty space, and I'd just like you to shout their full name, Megan Arnold, at a random point in that time that feels right to you. Because, as any artist knows, exposure is equivalent to pay. They are also getting paid, please don't worry. Okay, let's begin. That was fun. You can follow them on Instagram at Hieronymus Binch, spelt HIERONYMOUSBINCH, all one word, where they do loads of cool illustrations as well. Anyway, I guess that's my time. I will miss you. I hope you think of me the next time you stub your toe or pee in a phone box. Please note that Yellow Earth Theatre does not condone this sort of behaviour. So, goodbye, and welcome to our Signal Fire finale. Okay, how do I turn this off? Oh man, I need to go massive.